We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully your day is going well. It is Thursday, and while you're listening to the Rational Boomer podcast, this is a live on TikTok. And I thought it was appropriate that we do this live on TikTok because of the events of yesterday. And those events would be the terrorist attack in New Orleans. Here's what's interesting about that terrorist attack. Somebody we know very well on the TikTok lives and on the podcast was in that general area. I'm talking about TJ the plumber, and I'm talking about his wife Rebecca. They're here as moderators frequently, and they'll be here today. And I'm going to bring them up and talk to them for a bit because we need to get some insight as to what they saw and what they experienced while they were there. So I'm pulling up TJ right now. Hey TJ, how you doing?
Hi, Mike. I'm good.
Good. You're down in New Orleans, aren't you?
I am. So is Rebecca.
Wow, that's is Rebecca's out here too?
Yes. She
Okay,
should
I'll
be.
try to find.
Hang on a
I'll try
second.
to find. I'll try to find her and bring her up too.
Hey.
Well, anyway. Oh, there's Rebecca. Okay. Okay, now we got Rebecca and TJ up. Just to recap what happened, that at about 3 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Day, we had somebody driving a truck and went down Bourbon Street in New Orleans, high speeds, hit a bunch of people. 15 people are dead. That's the current number we know of. 30, 40 people were also injured, and it was absolutely crazy. And people are thinking that there are other people tied to this, that it was a conspiracy. We find out this gentleman has kind of an Islamic name, but he was an American citizen from Texas. I've even seen some videos, spoke perfect English. So he didn't come across the Mexican border. He didn't come from overseas. He's in Texas. He's a former member of the military. So this is all very strange. And now when he went through the crowd, he finally was stopped when he hit some construction machine. He gets out of the vehicle and he starts shooting. So he had a gun with him too. And of course, law enforcement shot and killed him at that moment. So he's no longer with us. The culprit is dead. There were also some incendiary devices found, not only in the area of the truck, but in other parts of the general area of where this all happened. So when I heard that story, I thought, holy fuck, that's crazy. And then I remembered that TJ and Rebecca had mentioned that they were going to go to New Orleans sometime after the last live. I thought, shit, I hope they're not there. And if they are there, I hope they're not on Bourbon Street. So I text TJ the plumber. He is still there. He was on Bourbon Street. And this all kind of happened out in front of these two. So I wanted to bring TJ and Rebecca on and talk about what it was going on from their perspective. So TJ, Rebecca, welcome. Just kind of tell us what happened as you saw it.
Well, last night we went down to the river, which isn't too far from Bourbon Street, and we had dinner on one of those paddle boats.
Right.
And the boat had a mechanical issue, so we had the dinner, but the boat never left the dock. And we watched the fireworks, and we stopped on Bourbon Street. When they have big, Mardi Gras or New Year's, Bourbon Street's actually closed down to traffic, so you couldn't really drive on Bourbon Street if you wanted to.
Okay.
So we stayed out probably till about 2:30, and we crossed that area over where Canal Street meets Bourbon Street. We went right through where the pathway is. Canal Street's kind of like a main way across the French Quarter, because like if you've ever been to the French Quarter, the streets are very narrow, so a lot of them are one-way streets. But
Right.
Canal Street's kind of at the top, so like a lot of the traffic all cuts through Canal Street, and then you can go down Bourbon Street or whatever street. But we were in that vicinity like 45 minutes before that incident even happened. So luckily we, celebrated enough and we were heading back to our hotel literally you walk out of the hotel and there's crime scene tape like right on the corner. I mean, it's insane. I went out this morning and there's FBI agents, ATF agents, state police. They're looking through garbage cans. I've never, in a single area, I've never seen so much law enforcement in one place at a time.
There was even like the wildlife police are out. Like,
Wow.
everybody.
The conservation police or the wildlife, they were blocking the side streets into Bourbon Street. The entire thing's shut down. You can't even go on to Bourbon Street at all.
It's very surreal here right now because like people are here on their vacations, so we're all like, wanted to have our vacations, but like 10 blocks of Bourbon Street are shut down for this. Like, so people are trying to, I think, like continue living their lives and having their vacations and it's like very surreal. It's like a whole everybody's like, it's sorrowful and people are just trying to like get on with their vacations at the same time. It's really just a really weird situation right now.
Yeah, and we talked to some folks at lunchtime. There's a lot of people that are here for the Notre Dame Georgia game, and they're leaving. Obviously, the game got postponed till tomorrow, but it puts them out because they can't stay that extra day. But they're pretty upset about that.
I think a lot of people are also leaving just because they're concerned, because the reason they postpone the game is because they don't know if there's not going to be a second attack at the game.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what I was going to ask you about. It's one thing to have this over with, but we're hearing from law enforcement that there probably were other people involved. In fact, I think they might even be interviewing some of those people. Those incendiary devices found in several places. This is more of a planned, it seems like a planned conspiracy. I wanted to mention one other thing too, because I heard a lieutenant governor say it, and I thought he was just blowing smoke. But they say that on the back of this truck there was a what is it? Not Al-Qaeda, ISIS flag on the back. Now, the story I heard about that with regards to this guy being tied to ISIS, this guy sounds like he was a little nuts because he'd been posting some things online and then he just decided he's going to be part of ISIS like a couple of days ago. So he's not an entrenched ISIS member. He's just trying to create a scare. Not that it isn't scary, but that was my question to you. Now that this has all happened and you're still there on your vacation till Friday or Saturday, are you concerned about other events happening in the area you're at? Are people worried about that?
I'd say that there's probably people worried about it. I'm not real keen on Bourbon Street's closed anyway. The police told me till probably at least tomorrow. But I'm not really super inclined to go over there, where people are in mass. We can do other things in other areas of the corridor where they're not as crowded. But yeah, it's a little concerning. I mean, I'm not really enthusiastic about going down Bourbon Street at night.
Well, I mean, under normal terms, it can be a little sketchy depending on how many people are out there. I've only been on Bourbon Street a couple times, and it's fun, but it's a little freaky too.
We walked through that area, like exactly where that happened at about 2:15, because the bar we were at closed at 2:00, and most bars close at 4. But that bar, the particular bar we were at, closed at 2. We decided, we'd had enough, so we were walking back, and it was like 2:15. We walked through that intersection, and it was 3:15.
Yeah. That's a crazy thing. You guys walked through exactly where it happened an hour prior to that. That in its own right for you two got to be kind of surreal. I mean, it's only little things that can change the whole prospects of one's lives. I mean, even if you were out there in the midst of it and you didn't get injured, just by virtue of witnessing it, that's got to be life changing.
Oh yeah.
Got a little feedback there, TJ. That's all right. So Rebecca, what stopped you from going to TJ and saying, "Motherfucker, let's get out of here. Let's go home now"? But you're staying a couple days. So what's up with that?
I don't know. I mean, I guess, I mean, we're on a vacation, so I don't think that, I think it was an isolated incident, and if they're going to target anything, it might be the bowl game, but we're not going to that, so I don't think we're in any danger now. I think that we just, I don't know, we're just kind of riding it out, I guess. I mean, I thought about it, and I know we saw a ton of people in the streets today carrying their bags. Like, I know a lot of people are running, like they're gone. And I don't know that we could even like get a fight out at this point.
Yeah. Well, you no doubt heard about this. V brings this up to me in the comments. She says, "How about the Cybertruck that blew up in front of Trump's Las Vegas hotel? FAFO time for Elon and Trump." Here's the thing about this. When I heard about what happened in New Orleans, and then what I heard about happened in Las Vegas, the first thing you think of, is there any connection here? And I think they haven't talked about the person who was involved in the Cybertruck explosion. That person died while in the car, and the person that did the New Orleans things. There is one tie to these two, though. They were both in rented cars, and they were both using the app Turo, which is an app I use all the time because it's much easier than going through the whole rental process. But there is that connection. There is the possibility of explosives and what essentially is a terroristic attack. What happened in Vegas has to be a terroristic attack at some point, whether it be domestic or international, I don't know. But once you'd gone through what you'd gone through, and then you heard about what happened in Vegas, did that make you think a little harder about this thing?
Well, yeah, but there's something going on in North Houston right now, too. The FBI is saying it's related to what happened in New Orleans. It's happening right now.
Yeah, I'd heard about that, and I think that it may have something to do with who are some of the co-conspirators, because the gentleman who died in the pickup truck in New Orleans was originally from Houston, I think, or he was from Austin and then Houston, whatever, but he's from Texas. There's some video out there of the guy talking about whatever, and he's very American. He has a Muslim name, and of course the ISIS flag and all this stuff. But make no mistake, this is a citizen of this country. He is a citizen of Texas, and you just have to wonder what causes somebody to go off the rails like this.
Well, I don't know. There was years ago, there was that guy who joined ISIS. He was an American citizen. I forget what the guy's name is now. But people get sucked into cults, kind of like the Trumpel fucks. They get sucked into a cult, and then they'll do anything for that cult.
Yeah, there's no question there is some radicalization going on, and it's all pretty much online. I don't know how you pull that off. It's almost like, the dating a catfish thing. For some reason, people get sucked into the whole narrative and the story of it all and somehow buy into it. It's sad to imagine how easy it is to radicalize somebody.
This guy was in the U.S. Army for 10 years. It's not.
Yeah. And I guess it isn't strange for somebody that served in the armed services to be radicalized. I'm not saying they all do, but there are examples of people who were in the military that were radicalized. You're dealing with an entirely different culture when you're in the military. And I've never been in the military, so I don't speak from experience, but I know people. You have a different attitude about what's going on in this world and in this country. And
It seems strange to go from fighting for your country to killing your fellow citizens. I mean, that's really scary.
Yeah, but not for nothing, but like that's what these terrorists do. They play the waiting game. They literally are here for years and years and years and years before they act. So you can't discount that.
Right, right. I'm gonna bring Will's here too now, so I'm gonna bring him up because I know Will will have something to say about it.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
hey, Will, how you doing? Thanks for joining us
Oh,
on
it's
the.
the end of the world as we know it. Oh
It's
my God.
been saying
What
that
was
like
your
that all day. Well,
what was your thoughts about
Oh,
hearing about this thing in New Orleans? And then you find out maybe just now that TJ and Rebecca were right there, staying in a hotel, right where all this shit happened.
oh God.
literally
I'm
a
glad you
block
guys
away.
are okay.
Thank you.
Say again, ma'am. I'm sorry.
We're a block away.
Oh,
We
you
we
Wow.
guys
walked
okay?
through
Obviously.
we
Thank
walked
God.
through that intersection less than an hour before it happened.
Wow.
I, I'm just like, I just did a video because as a Christian, I mean, I read the Bible all my life. King James grew up on it, but I always hated the Revelations book because I always thought it was tossed in. Someone like wrote it and just threw it in there.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to believe some of that shit now because they have adopted Trump as their antichrist, and we're starting to see all this come around. This thing is starting to look like a conspiracy huge. If they're in Houston looking for bodies,
Yeah.
looking for conspirators. Apparently, it could have been worse with the incendiary devices that they planted. What was in his car? I'm just like,
Eh,
well, what's next? That's what's going in my mind right now.
Well, it's
You know,
really
one.
weird about the incendiary devices in the guy's truck here in New Orleans, and then all of a sudden a cyber truck shows up at Trump's hotel in Las Vegas, full of incendiary devices and fireworks.
Right. Well, the one in Las Vegas, I've seen some pictures of it. It was in fact a bunch of gas cans and a bunch of higher level, bigger fireworks. Now, how it was set off, I don't know. If the guy intended to be in the truck when it was set off, I'm not sure. But it wasn't the typical pipe bombs or anything like that. But this is the thing. We always get a big story one day and we forget about the other big story from 2 days ago. There's another big story with bombs or incendiary devices too. It was in Norfolk, Virginia. I don't know if you remember hearing this story, but the FBI busted a guy and confiscated the largest number of pipe bombs, finished pipe bombs in history. They pulled 150 pipe bombs out of this guy's garage. And then we have what goes on in New Orleans. Then we have what goes on in Las Vegas. It's a little frightening when you think about it.
Yeah, I saw that story. That's truly scary. I mean, that someone to do
I
that.
think he was. I think he was getting ready if Trump had lost the election, and they just found his bombs. I mean, he's outside of D.C. in Norfolk.
Yes.
That's a possibility.
That,
Now
that's
he's got a whole
We,
bunch of bombs, doesn't know what to do with them.
that's a very
I hate when that happens.
Me too.
yeah. Well, the thing about it is that Donald Trump will come out and he, of course, the first thing he tries to do, he tries to make this New Orleans thing or the Cybertruck thing the fault of Joe Biden and the Democrats, which is really a little tone deaf when these things are going on. It's kind of bullshit. I would say this though. I would make Donald Trump culpable in this kind of thing to a certain extent because Donald Trump has created a culture of fear in this country. Everybody's terrified, whether it be Trumplafucks against the libtards or the libtards versus the Trumplafucks. But there's a lot of people absolutely terrified here. Some people think they have nothing to lose and nothing to gain, so what the fuck?
Mike.
And
They're never gonna hold him culpable. There's no way. There's no way. They're never
no,
gonna hold him.
I'm not going to suggest anybody's going to hold him culpable for this, but we need to understand why this is going on. And I think we have a culture right now that a lot of people are angry, a lot of people are adversarial, and a lot of people are terrified. And when that happens, people act irrationally.
But he's using this to his advantage. I mean, it took him 5 minutes, as we all just said, to blame immigrants, even after the story had come out. This man was an American citizen. Don Jr. picked up on it, and all his MAGA cultists are running with it. And the thing about it is, it's a man of color, so they're going to use that. I'm seeing a lot of TikTok people going, someone goes, well, do you remember the Reichstag fire? Maybe this is Trump and his people creating this so he can declare martial law on January 20th. I mean, that's about as far-fetched as you can get, but who knows these days? And that's another thing to think about.
Well, I wanted to bring that up because I hear a lot of people talking about it. We have heard a lot of people talking about the executive order 13848 about meddling in elections with foreign countries. They kept talking about, we can go to that, we can go to that. And then all of a sudden yesterday or the day before, we find out that investigation did go on, and they found that Russia and Iran did meddle in the election, and there were some sanctions levied there. Now, a lot of people are saying, okay, we'll see, that's the start. They got them there. They got them with the executive order. But as Eric has pointed out before, if you read that executive order, it only talks about foreign countries. It doesn't talk about actors within the country. So I don't know that that gives us any hope that they're not going to inaugurate Donald Trump on January 20th. However, then there's the 14th Amendment. If somehow they pull those two things together and Congress or people in Congress can do something with this, I don't know. There's people still holding hope, but we're talking Friday when they're going to switch Congress. On the 6th, next week, it's going to be the certification of the election. If anything like this is truly going to happen, it's got to happen pretty fucking quick.
Yeah, if they get a speaker, I mean, there's already the MAGA cultists don't want Mike Johnson. And here we go again. I mean, these guys cannot govern. I don't know who are you going to get. Who? Jim Jordan? They hate Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan is despised by most people in Congress, like Matt Gaetz was.
Well, Jim Jordan was up for election one time and he fucking lost. That's why Mike Johnson is the Speaker of the House. Jim Jordan couldn't get the votes either. Somebody brought something up on TikTok, and I tend to agree with them on this. If they don't have a speaker for January 6th, it's going to cause some issues, and January 20th, it causes bigger issues. Donald Trump is all in on Mike Johnson, not because he likes Mike Johnson, but because he doesn't want his certification and inauguration fucked up. So Donald Trump is on the phone with all Republican House members, and he's talking them into voting for Mike Johnson. Here's what I'm going to suggest is going to happen. And this I got from somebody else, and it made the most sense. The Republicans, with the help of Donald Trump, they are going to vote for Mike Johnson to be the Speaker of the House. That's the most expeditious thing for them. But you remember, with the Republicans in the House, you only need one person to say, okay, I want this fucker voted out. So they'll vote him in, so he'll be there January 6th and January 20th. But after that, that motherfucker's probably gone. They'll cause him to get his ass kicked out after that. Make any sense to you guys?
I mean, he's invested into the inauguration. I don't think Trump wants his party to be ruined. I can see that if he's promising Congress, hey, you do this solid for me. Afterwards, you can do whatever you want and get rid of them. And right. I mean, that would make sense. I mean, from a transactional person that Donald Trump is, that would make sense. Hey, just give me the solid, put him in there, and then you can turn around after the inauguration on the 21st and kick his ass out, fight what you want. But I need my party.
Well, they'll Kevin McCarthy, Mike Johnson, because what happened with the debt ceiling. The MAGAs are all pissed off about that because Donald Trump didn't want. Well, President Musk and Donald Trump didn't want it, so maybe he'll survive January, but after that, they're going to throw him out.
Yeah, I agree. We were pulling Eric in now, analytical Iowan. No doubt you've been listening a little bit, Eric. What are your thoughts on my my theory on the Speaker of the House.
Well, I did a TikTok earlier today talking about the new rules package they're getting ready to vote on. Now, they won't vote on it probably till after they have a speaker. But the new rules package they want to agree on says it'll take 9 votes to call to oust the speaker, not one. 9's still not a lot, but they're talking about changing the new rules for the next 2 years because they don't want the chaos of one vote and then out. But they still got to get a speaker for that new rules package to take effect.
Right.
And I don't know if it's going to be Mike Johnson. Representative Massey from Kentucky, I think,
Yeah.
said absolutely 100% will not vote for Mike Johnson. That means he's lost 1 vote. That puts him at every other Republican. He's at 218. He can't lose another vote. He might not have it. I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, you're right. It is.
What's the reason for it? What is it? Because of what happened with the debt ceiling?
No, the funding bill and not getting the debt ceiling. They didn't get what MAGA wanted.
And he had to work with Democrats twice or more to keep the government open and funded. MAGA wanted the government shut down multiple times, didn't happen. And he did what Kevin McCarthy did. Said, okay, what can I pass with Democrats? And now they're saying, well, fuck you. We want to pass everything on our own. We don't need to work with Democrats. Why do we work with Democrats? Because you guys can't agree with yourselves.
Yeah, and they're not going to have much better. They're not going to have much more luck in the next session because they've got even a slimmer margin in the House for the next session.
Yeah, and it gets worse because, I mean, I've been reading what Trump is treating the press. He's sending out warnings that we're going to pull licenses if you speak against him. And also he's threatening Democrats in the Senate that if you hold up any of his nominees, I'm going to primary you. Now, if I'm a Democrat in the Senate, I'd say, come get me. Go, whatever. There's some that are coming to be up for election in 2 years. Right. But if Democrats are trying to cooperate with him and try to put a good face on RFK or Tulsi Gabbard or Pete Hegseth, if you go into a committee meeting and try to pitch these people for some kind of bipartisan support, you're out of your goddamn minds. I mean, we cannot let these people get away with this.
Absolutely not. I'm going to bring somebody else in off the street, as it were. People seem to like that. I like bringing people up just to see what we're in for. We'll see if that person comes up. Let's do this. I'm not getting anybody coming up, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. But you're absolutely right. Something's not going right here. Okay. Now we got somebody coming up here. I think it's Esther. Esther, how you doing?
Hi, I'm glad you pulled me up today. I just was very interested on you guys' take on all the violence that's been going on in America in this past 24 hours.
It's pretty crazy. And as I said, I think it's largely due to the culture that Donald Trump and MAGA has created. There's a lot of fear out there on both sides, both Democrats and Republicans. There's terrified, we've got the Republicans terrified of the brown people, and we got the Democrats terrified of the red motherfuckers. So it's a very volatile time. And when people are terrified, they tend to act irrationally. Unfortunately, the Republicans tend to be the more irrational in these circumstances.
And I do agree with you on that, because anytime people back a whole lot of religion on their political beliefs, it tends to get very violent on the land. That's what the Republican Party, they base themselves on their the Christian nationalist system to actually get Christian people to vote. And then they're the ones that have the most bloodshed when it comes to anything out, not just America, across the land. So that is a big problem that I know that African Americans see that as a problem. And we are quite afraid of what this is going to pan out to look like in the long haul if things do not turn around to be kind of cordial between the parties. Because I look at it the same way that maybe the Civil War probably took ground and ended up breaking out across America, is because you're going to have two parties who agree initially on a common cause and then had a break because someone went far left on their decisions and went with the more money or to exit people out from making more money or more benefits in the long run. So that was the biggest thing that I see. And I honestly just personally feel that even these so-called attempts on Donald Trump was a setup for everything that may be unfolding before us. So I'm just concerned about a lot of conspiracy theories that we're now thinking that was conspiracy theories in the 60s, and now we're finding out they're true. And it's going to be interesting to see what history unfolds in the next 10, 15, 20 years about everything that has taken place when everybody wants to talk because some people have died.
Esther, what part of the country are you in?
I'm from Georgia, Macon, Georgia.
Georgia. Macon, Georgia. Love
Yeah.
that town. Got a
Yeah,
great barbecue place there.
yeah,
I've said before, I have a place in Savannah, Georgia, so I'm somewhat familiar with Macon. I love Georgia. Will is from Georgia.
Yeah,
who's
I lived in Byron. Now I'm living in Covington. So yeah, it's a different world here. A little different in Macon and all that. So
it is.
Especially if you're brown.
When he came to Macon, I knew he was going to win Georgia. When he came to Macon, I knew hands down he was going to win Georgia because he did it before, and people don't understand. The only thing I really can say about the Democratic Party is that the Republican Party has knelt down tooth and nail is by reaching everyday people, by going to these small towns that no one has heard of or just briefly heard of to actually pull their votes. They are very good about doing that. They don't really hang out in the big areas where they know they're going to lose. They go to areas where they know they're going to win. And when I flew in from California and I saw Trump was in Macon, I said, there go Georgia. That is Georgia in a handbasket.
but
Yeah,
see, the
I-
irony of it is, I mean, I'm in Newton County, and I'm 40 miles east of Atlanta, which I thought was a blue county. But my God, the amount of Trump signs I saw around here was disturbing. I was surprised. I mean, people bought into his con.
They did.
It was amazing around here.
It's really shocking how the churches around here, every church in Macon, Georgia, in the ditch of every church before you pull and drive by the driveway, God supports Trump. And I swear, every single church had that almost in Macon. And I was like, wow, this is scary.
Because they've replaced God with Trump.
They did.
Trump is their God. It's what I was saying before. I don't know if you heard it. They've adopted him as God. He is the Antichrist. If we want to get down to it, this is what they've done. And there are Christians around going, you don't see it. Because anything that comes out, they don't worship God anymore.
Well, they compare
They've
him to
given
Cyrus.
up.
They compare him to Cyrus.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's going to come of it. I will say this. I'm going to let you go here in a minute, Esther. We're going to get some other folks on, but I'm thinking right at this moment in time, leading up to the inauguration, it's going to be a little sketchy. It's going to be a little volatile. I'm hoping that after the inauguration, because sometimes you anticipate this horrible thing happening and you're just waiting and the unknown is scary to you. Once he's inaugurated and we're out the other side, I think things settle down a little bit more because there's a lot of people on the Democratic side that think they can still change things. And the Republicans are getting nervous because Donald Trump is sticking it in their face hopefully after the inauguration, things will settle down just a little bit. I can't say for sure that that's going to happen, but that's just my sense.
I'm hoping so, because I hate for any more violence or the people to feel like we don't have any trust into our governmental system. Fight regardless if MAGA is in Republicans are in office right now. It just leaves America like it is putting a stain on what America fought so hard to even lie in the history books about. The things that they lied in the history books about, they're even backtracking how they wrote the lies after Reconstruction. So
Absolutely.
Interesting to see.
Well, thank you, Esther. I appreciate you taking some time to talk to us, some great points, and feel free to come back anytime.
And I love your commentary.
Thank you, Esther. We love having you here.
All right. Good
Take
night.
care, Esther. Be safe.
All right. You too.
So I want to address
All right.
something I saw in here in the comments. There was someone, because we were bringing that up between Esther and I about how religious that, because she's right. I left my Methodist church because they went Trumplican. But there's someone in here saying that Trump's my president, not my God. Let me make this clear. If you voted for him, you adopted everything that he is. Don't sell me that. Yeah, don't sell me this bullshit about politics, because the reason that the rest of us are looking at you as skewed, you come down with all the rest of it that comes with it. The hate, the misogyny, the racism. Stop it. You got conned. You're going to see it. And you guys are the first ones to say that what happened in New Orleans was an immigrant. So don't bring, ma'am, I'm sorry. You voted for him? No. You bought the whole fucking package.
Whether you think he's God or
I
not,
blocked
you're
it.
certainly in a cult.
I blocked her, Will.
Okay, good.
Okay, I mean, I don't
Absolutely.
care because she wasn't being rude. I just wanted to address that. I mean, that's their selling point. They're saying, well, he's my president. No, you don't get it. The president of the United States should be the president for everyone, period. A good man died a couple of days ago. Jimmy Carter was a good man. Jimmy Carter was the last good man as president. He was president during my high school years. If you listen to the speeches they play now, he was a great man who was the first to get fucked over by the Republican machine. The first one. And Democrats didn't help him. Edward Kennedy did him in. John Anderson did him in. Fucking Ralph Nader did him in. And that brought in Ronald Reagan. And the good man died. And the reaction, if you reacted to Jimmy Carter other than that, he was a good man, then you have problems.
Well, Jimmy
Yeah,
Carter
there was
built low-income housing for people, disadvantaged people. I mean, he left the presidency and made a lifetime of helping people. I can't think of any modern president that did something like that.
No. And then there was this state rep in, I don't know, might have been Colorado, who was drinking champagne and celebrating his death, the death of Jimmy Carter. And then, of course, he got all kinds of backlash, and now he had to come out and apologize. Sorry, apology not accepted. I tell you what, I'm going to bring in somebody else. We had her last time on a live, and she was just a guest on the podcast, just her and I. She's an interesting young lady to talk to, Yulena.
Hi.
You're on with us.
I was-
Hey, Yulena.
I was just gonna give y'all the update on the guy. So apparently he's from Houston. I'm at home. I remember I'm from Houston. I live in Dallas, but I am originally from Houston. So it's been on the news. He has residency in Houston. They've shut down part of I think it's off of Hughes Road. They have his house blocked off as perimeter. And so they're showing that he was kind of had residence in Houston, and so they're gonna keep us updated. But yeah, it looks like this guy they had Beaumont originally, but it's looking like he was a Houstonian. So
Do they
that's
say if
what's
this
going
guy's
on
crazy,
so far.
or do they say if this guy's crazy, or is he really connected to ISIS? I don't get the impression he's really connected to ISIS. He just threw that on there.
So as far as we know, what the FBI, because they've basically shut it off. They're still going through and doing their investigation, and I guess they're just leaking it slowly to the public. So they just did like a 30-minute newscaster thing on there. So that's all we know, is that right now the FBI and I think the sheriff, Harris County is involved, and HPD have blocked it off his house, and they're going through these stuff, and I guess they're just letting us know as it comes. But apparently they said he was from Beaumont, but now they're saying he's from Austin, from Houston, and they have his house blocked off. So that's all we kind of know right now. So I was just kind of letting y'all know what's going on with the guy from New Orleans.
Yeah, one of the commenters, Alice13, she made a comment, something that I did here too. Says CNN said he was originally targeting his family, but then he had a dream and joined ISIS. So it's like he's been in ISIS for a day or
couple
two.
of
So it's not
day or something like that. But they haven't just kind of told the whole story. I guess when they get all the information, they're kind of just giving us droplets here and there in Houston, the Houston news, 26, Fox 26 in Houston. So that's all we know right now. He's from Houston. The FBI is still there, and they're going through things and kind of letting us know, I guess based off of when they find whatever they find. So that's kind of where we at now. And it seems like, he kind of was on ISIS for just a quick second. I guess maybe something happened, and I'm sure they'll dig and find that out. But I guess they were trying to talk to neighbors and kind of see what was going on with him, if they knew him and stuff like that. So I'm sure eventually, like probably tomorrow, there'll be more information about this man. But that's what we know now, is that he wasn't from Beaumont. He was actually it sounds like he's from Houston. He has a house here in Houston that's blocked off. And that's how they are starting to put Houston and him together. And that's why they're saying that it's part of the New Orleans issue, because he really was, I guess, originally from or lived in Houston. And that's where all of his residency and information is coming from now.
Have they talked about? I heard some people talking about them interviewing some other people, talking about it being a conspiracy theory. Are they given any indication whether there were other people involved in this, or is this just a nutcase that went wild?
So far, they haven't said. They think that's what they're saying, but it's ruling that it wasn't anybody else, based off of what the news was saying. It looks like it was just kind of like him. There wasn't more people involved, because I think they were saying that it was people involved from Houston, is what originally they started to say, and that's not what it's looking like so far. So we'll just have to wait and see what they say. But as far as it's looking as though that it was just him alone, and he didn't have other help involved, and that's what they've shown so far. But they're still there. I mean, still blocked off. You can't go on that part of Houston. It's off of Hughes Road in Northwest Houston, and it's his residency, and you can't go there. So I'm sure we'll find out more information about this guy tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be all over, not just Houston news, but all over, and TikTok as well. And they'll show probably more information, or have more information, since they're still there, going through the house and everything. So I just wanted to kind of clear up and let you know. They said he was from Beaumont, and then the news just said no, it looks like he's from Houston, and he has a house here, and they're going through this stuff. So I'm sure we'll find out more information tomorrow. And I'm glad everybody who was in New Orleans, I see Rebecca and TJ, y'all were there, so I'm glad y'all were safe. So that's a blessing in itself. So, but I just wanted to let y'all know that's. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say thank you for updating us here. That's a big help. I'm going to cut you loose here, but you were on the podcast just the other day, if not today. I get confused. No, it was the other day, and you did a great job. And I told you to check the YouTube comments. They all loved you, so you're going to have to come back sometime soon. So my email. Just keep.
I do. I will email you soon. So thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks very
New
much.
Year.
Now, I want to ask all you guys. I think we all agreed on this. Everybody was worried about these mass violent events that could happen if Donald Trump lost or if he won, and we all agreed that there would probably not be that mass kind of violence, but there would be these wild cards out there, these crazies, these loners that would pop up and do certain things. Do you think that's what we're looking at now with the likes of Las Vegas and in New Orleans?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a little bit of it. I think part of what we're seeing is kind of what we've been talking about, just even with the comment section, is all of the Trumplafucks. They were geared for a fight going into the election. They were amped up. They were ready to fight. They were convinced they were going to lose. They were talking about civil war if Trump lost and everything. And they don't know how to calm themselves back down. And now you're seeing some of the side effects of that. I think it's some lone people going rogue, because they've got that rage built up and they don't know what else to do, and then they get radicalized, and whatever this guy had, whatever led him to do what he did. I think part of that was just built up from being prepared for a war.
Yeah,
that wasn't coming.
absolutely. Absolutely.
My concern is that these guys have been wound up, and now that they go off, it doesn't. I mean, remember the original idea behind January 6th was to stop everything long enough for Trump to declare a national emergency and keep the presidency. He knows that a lot of the shit that he wants to do, Congress is going to stop him. If he declares a national emergency, he's getting carte blanche. That's a concern, because this conspiracy, I mean, it's just down the pike for Trump. ISIS, Muslim, dark-skinned guy, all this. They're going to play this to the key. Am I being conspiracy or crazy? Maybe. But it's everything going to play into his hands. And that's something I was hoping not to happen, because these people are crazy enough to take power under this pretense, and then we're all going to be in trouble at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, every time something happens, we think that's absolutely crazy. That's a conspiracy theory. The attempt on Donald Trump's life, this stuff happening in New Orleans and even Las Vegas. It sounds crazy. It sounds like something normal people wouldn't talk about. But then you have to factor in that Donald Trump's name is attached, and then anything is fucking possible at this point.
Yeah, and as far as whether or not he's going to try to use it as some kind of emergency, I don't think he'll get that far. If he tries to make the moves, I think the Republicans will out him on their own, because they know they have to get reelected.
Did you see Kennedy though? Senator Kennedy in Louisiana today?
No.
That didn't sound like someone who was going to fight against Trump. That guy was basically calling for blood of anyone to look at color.
Well,
That man was insane.
A few of them are going to side with him, of course, but I think there's going to be enough, because you got to remember, if they go to impeach him in the Senate, I guarantee you all 47 Democrats or Democrat-leaning independents are going to vote yes. Then it only takes about 20 of the remaining to remove Donald Trump. I mean, some might side with Trump, but I think ultimately they may be left with no choice.
Well, that's exactly it. Up until such time that they boot him out of there. I'm going to pull somebody else up here. We're going to talk a little bit further. Okay, we'll see if this one works. Here we go. It's always a crapshoot when I do this. We've been pretty lucky. Stepping up to the plate right now is Veteran 51. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, just watching the events unfold. Jesus goddamn Christ.
What do you think is going on here? I mean, is it just lone lunatics or something bigger going on?
I don't know enough to really speak on that, but I can say that the man was born in Texas. He's a U.S. citizen. He served in the Army. I think something happened in his lifetime that he became radicalized.
Are you're a veteran too? Is that what I'm getting
Yes,
from your
sir.
handle?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir, I am. I'm a Vietnam era
Where
war veteran.
Vietnam War era veteran. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any thoughts on why we're seeing some military people getting radicalized? You would think they'd be the last ones that were, but we're seeing more and more of that happening. What is it in the culture of the military that causes people to be in that mindset where they can be radicalized?
I can't say that from a military aspect, but I know that there seems to be a giant blank space in this dude's life.
Yeah,
I think since 2020 that we're not familiar with, so we don't know. I don't know, dude. It's not just. I don't think it's just military being radicalized. I think it's individuals.
well, it is individuals, and I'm not saying it's just military being radicalized. It's just that for me, it seems like military would be the least likely to be radicalized. So, is there something missing in the culture that this is happening?
I can't. I don't know. I can't speak on that. I'm military. You couldn't radicalize me for $100 million, to tell you the truth.
How about 200
'Cause
million?
I swore an oath to the Constitution. I swore an oath to the Constitution, and
Absolutely.
that oath stands today, and it will stand until the day I damn die.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Veteran 51, thank you for your service, and I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
You know, I would do it all again, but they say I'm too old. Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what the heck? Relax and enjoy life as best you can. You served and you did a lot more than a lot of people do, so we have to respect that from you.
Out of six of my siblings, three of us were in the service. Two of us in the Army, and one in the Marines. There's a lot.
Well, yeah, it's a lot from one family, and I appreciate it. We all appreciate it immensely. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. I'd do it again, like I said, but they say I'm too old. Damn it.
Well, you're not too old to come back here anytime again during the live. Feel free to stop back in. We'd be happy to talk to you.
Oh, somebody said I'm 65. I'm old. Oh, honey, I got you beat. I'm 73.
Yeah, I'm 64. You have to be 73 because I was too young for Vietnam.
Yeah.
Um, but again, we appreciate it. Come back to us anytime on the lives. We love hearing from you folks, especially those who've served in the military. Thank you very much, Veteran 51. All right. It's good to hear from those folks that have some experience in the military. I mean, it's real easy for somebody to make guesses and such, but I've never served in the military, so I can't speak intelligently about that.
She was
I mean, he just
rational.
said
Go ahead,
Russian.
any one of you.
No, I was just saying
Somebody
it's the radicalization is. I mean, it's not just the military. He got hooked onto something. It sounds like he had some personal issues, and a lot of these organizations, ISIS, Trumplicans, anything, they give you some kind of anchor to hang on to, an identity,
Yeah,
because yours has been ripped out. And so now he's thinking he's doing something good for his community and doing what he's doing.
right,
It's basically, I mean, that's what it is. That's why some people will do what he did. He knows that nothing's going to happen from it, but in his mind, he's thinking he's starting this huge revolution. It's when it gets bad is what you're dealing with Trump and his cult, where it gets normalized. And that's what we're
right.
dealing right now. It's a normalization of this. As for the lone wolves, I mean, I was hoping that maybe these people would calm down, take a Xanax, something, but
You would think.
they just can't let it go. I mean,
Yeah,
they can't accept winning. It's
yeah,
weird.
yeah.
It's like, they go, well, we won. Yeah, okay, great. And they wanted us to do what? And now here we are again, and they're mad again. They're mad. For
I don't know.
what? I
Yeah,
don't know, but they're mad.
I don't know what they're mad about. I'm taking somebody else up here. I don't know the name. There's just an icon, I think. We'll see who pops up here. Who are we talking to? We just brought you up. I don't see the. Are you there? I'm guessing they're not there, so I'm not gonna. Sounds like they're having dinner or something, and I don't want to interrupt them at that point. There's one other person I wanted to bring up. Let's see here. Okay, we'll try this one. This one does have a name. And the name on this one is Chief 2000. We'll see if he pops up here. If not, we'll talk about some other stuff and we'll look at other possible guests. We get that sometimes where I hit somebody and they just kind of buffer. I don't know if that means they just dropped out or what, but that one ain't working. So we tried. We're coming up on this Speaker of the House thing, and this has got to be causing a lot of turmoil in Washington D.C. at this point. People have to be freaking out, especially on the Republican side, because if they choose the wrong way, it's going to fuck everything up, or at least delay a lot of things, and they're not used to delaying things for themselves.
Yeah, I don't know who is going to ultimately be Speaker. I don't think it's going to be Mike Johnson.
Okay.
It's looking good for him. Like I said, Massey already said he's a no. You got Matt Gaetz, who's not taking his seat, so they're down by one. That means they can lose one vote. Massey out. Okay, if they lose one more, he's out. I don't know who else they can get, but that also means they need 3 Republicans to say, okay, fuck this shit. We need somebody in here who's going to be able to control the chaos. Do they go with Hakeem Jeffries? They may have no choice but to say, hey, we have to cross the aisle. We hate it, but we need somebody to control the chaos and go with Hakeem.
Absolutely. We brought somebody else in. It's Todd. Todd, are you there? Todd. Hello, Todd. Okay. Well, here's the thing. If you want to be a guest, you got to pay attention because I might hit you. There is no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing or why I'm doing it because, well, we know why I do it that way because it's my motherfucking show. I'll do it my motherfucking way. That's why. Okay, let's go with another one and see if this works. This person's name is Carla, and we'll see if she comes up. I don't know. We might be having a problem with calling in guests here. It's got to be the MAGA fucks causing us all kinds of problems. Yeah, I don't know. I think we got a lot of people out there not expecting to get called up. So we'll just let it sit for a while and we'll wait till everything settles in and we'll bring in some more guests.
There was a comment in the chat, Mike. Somebody else said there's another Republican has already said they're not going to vote for Mike Johnson. That's 2 votes. He's out. Unless he can rally them around him, he's lost 2. He's got 2 solid no's. They can't get to 218.
Well, unless the option is that they've got a replacement that they can elect in a day, and they proved that that's not the case. I mean, they're a divided body here. They can't agree on anything. They can't even pass the funding bill without the Democrats' help. So you may be right. They may be stuck. And when it comes down to it, comes down to the certification day and stuff, they're going to need a Speaker of the House, any Speaker of the House, and it could be Hakeem Jeffries.
Right. I sent you an email last night. I saw a clip here on TikTok from the movie Lincoln from 2012. And there's a spot where Lincoln is talking to Secretary of State Seward, or Steward, whichever. And
Seward.
they're talking about passing the 13th Amendment. And Secretary of State Seward says, you know, when it comes, even if we have all Republicans voting together on passing this amendment, and when in the history of our party have we ever voted together on anything?
Well, that's a good point.
That quote, it was just like, is he talking about modern Republicans? Because they're in about the same boat.
It does seem like it. Let's bring Jules in here and see if we can get this to connect up. So, Jules, are you there?
Hey, Mike. Hey,
Jules.
Eric.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Jules.
Eric, TJ, Rebecca, Will. Thank you guys for
Hi.
all your great content. I listen every chance I get. I just have a real quick question for you guys. I just kind of want to throw something out at you, but there's been a lot of response about the fact of that Trump hasn't signed the I won't get the name quite right, but the security documents that every incoming president signs before they take office, and he's been dragging his feet. But last time he was elected, he drug his feet all the way until inauguration day. And I remember this distinctly, and it was a big thing, although the media didn't report on it a whole lot. And he ended up signing on the day, and they were late walking out the door for his inauguration. And here we are, new election, and he's doing the same thing. As far as I know, he hasn't signed it. So my question is, what do you guys think about it? And, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not.
Eric, you're the one that would answer this.
I'm not surprised that he hasn't signed the ethics agreement. Now, I don't know if it doesn't change anything as far as I know. I don't know if that prevents him from taking the oath of office or not, but he doesn't respect, security of handling classified documents. Look at how he treated them last time. Showing people he shouldn't show. Stored them in a bathroom. Stored them in the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago. So this doesn't surprise me. He'll ultimately end up signing it because somebody will get in his ear and say, look, if you want to see the information, you got to sign the document. And then he'll sign it because he has to. But he doesn't care. He doesn't care about norms, procedures, rules. He thinks the minute he gets in, everything should bow to him and he should be the ultimate guy in control. And he doesn't care about co-equal branches of government or anything.
And
He doesn't want the
here's
work.
a fearful point for everyone. Elon Musk is now living, I guess, in Mar-a-Lago. And when Trump becomes president, how many of these super secret documents is this man going to get to see? Think on that. That is I mean, what's he going to do? And that should scare the hell out of each of us to think of that man has access to American secrets.
But that's the whole point in signing that document, is so that he can get classified secrets, is it not?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what I understood also. And yet here we are.
He was slow on signing that transition papers too. He finally did cut a deal that, and the reason he wasn't signing those papers was because that would require his nominees to get an FBI background check. He caved on that to an extent. I don't know what kind of deal they worked out. But Donald Trump doesn't do what he's supposed to do. I think he does it purposely because he wants to be thought of as a rebel. But you understand, Donald Trump doesn't want to do the job of being the job that is required in being president. He just wants the title. He wants the glory. He wants the adulation. This is what people don't understand. He doesn't do any work. He doesn't read. He doesn't do anything he doesn't absolutely have to. The only things that happened are if somebody else does it. So Donald Trump's just a lazy motherfucker. That's what it is.
Yeah.
He's lazy. He can't read.
Stupid. No.
But at what point do you halt him and say, hey, if you don't sign these documents, then you can't be inaugurated?
Well, see, that's the
Either
problem.
that, or just do away with the documents.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like subpoenas from Congress.
Right.
We always thought that was an absolute, but people could just say, fuck that, I don't want to do it, and nothing happens. Because he stepped all over the norms, all these things that we thought were strong and powerful and would cause people to do and stay within those norms, they don't mean anything anymore. Norms and rules don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jules. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Jules.
You're welcome.
He's running. Have you ever seen the transition, guys? I mean, not even the 2016 was like this. But this transition where the incoming administration is trying to govern, I have never seen anything like this. he keeps putting out all these things like it's going to happen. He's not president yet.
No.
And it's like getting in the way. I mean, did you see in Panama? I mean, people are protesting the street, basically say, "Come get us, dude. Let's do it." I mean, this is insane. He's not even in the White House yet. And he's pissed everyone off in the entire North American fucking continent. And I don't know what Joe Biden just sits there and goes, "What the fuck did I do wrong? I should have told Nancy Pelosi to go fuck herself."
Yeah.
Well, I said that, a little while ago. I'm like, have you ever seen a president-elect be this involved? Normally, again, we're dealing with norms, and Donald Trump hates norms. Have you ever seen a president-elect be this involved in politics? No.
No.
Have you ever seen
or day-to-day politics? Yeah.
Be this involved? He's been involved. He's been putting his thumb on the scale of politics in the Biden administration ever since Kevin McCarthy went down and kissed the ring. Ever since Kevin McCarthy brought him back into the fold after January 6th, he has tried to put his thumb on the scale of American politics throughout the entirety of the Biden administration. We have never seen an outgoing former president be as involved as he is. And
the problem is that the Republicans have allowed it and encouraged it, and no one else has ever done that before. But you're absolutely right.
Hey, Mike, did Julie request?
I haven't seen Julie yet, but I got somebody up now, Caldwell Cutie. Are you there?
Yeah, hi. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? What's your first name?
Joanne.
Joanne, thanks for joining us. What's on your mind today?
Well, I'm listening to everybody's talk about, the irreverence of Donald Trump. And the problem with laws and policies and norms is that they're only as good as the enforcement. And we've just proved for the first time in our history, in almost 300 years of running a government based on honor and the word of a document written by our forefathers, that it was, polite society to follow the rules. Because apparently we're finding out in many of these amendments, there are no absolutes. They almost like suggestions, right? We suggest that you do this if this happens, but it ends there. And there never seems to be that last part that says, if you do not do that, this will happen to you, right? The enforcement is weak, and then the consequence is missing. That's unfortunately, with all my education, and I had a fantastic professor in undergrad school, took political science. He was from the Middle East. He taught us more about American government than Americans knew, right? And all of that, I've learned in the last 5 years is that the amendments are just words. If no one enforces them, and there are no consequences written within the amendments, they are really worthless words. Because as a civilized, polite society, we all abided by them because we voluntarily did it, right? He is involuntarily saying, nah, I'm not going to do it. Which is like an obstinate toddler, right? Like an obstinate child. Families have basic rules in a home. Maybe there isn't a punishment that's laid out if you don't hang your clothes up, you don't take your coat off and drop it on the floor at the front door. These are just, as the other person said, norms, but they're enforceable because someone says to you, "Excuse me, you threw your coat on the floor. Pick it up and hang it up." Nobody's telling Trump to hang up his effing coat.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The one thing that's most disconcerting since the emergence of Donald Trump is that we found out, as much a surprise to anybody as me, is that Congress, the DOJ, and our courts, our legal system in general, has no teeth.
None.
They went for on reputation for decades and decades, and like you say, these were agreed upon by polite people. The moment an impolite person like Donald Trump comes in, it all just
It dissolved.
flits
It just
away. It dissolved.
completely
Yeah,
dissolved into mist and went into the atmosphere. Completely gone. There is
Yeah.
literally nothing behind what we, as you said earlier, when you said a subpoena. Most people are afraid to get a subpoena. They think this is
Yeah.
an order from the court. I must obey this or else. Well, nobody ever said what the or else was. And apparently
Right.
there was no or else, because we've now found out that, well, you know what? You might be nervous and you might be a little uncomfortable, but you don't have to do it. And that
Right,
goes
exactly.
for people like you and I. You don't have to. Now, will someone put a warrant out for your arrest because your testimony is consequential in some other material way? I don't know. I wouldn't, as a layperson, I wouldn't be testing that theory, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I think the hardest thing right now, it's not even just the enforcement, ma'am, is that it's that you had the one guy, because there have been people who have fought against the Constitution for years, but they've always been shouted down. This is the first time we had actually a political party behind him, that when Donald Trump said, fuck the Constitution, they stood behind him and said, yeah, fuck the Constitution. Because that's the one thing that's been sacred. Like the veteran a moment ago, you say you pledge your loyalty to the Constitution. The problem is you have a political system that is dedicated, who gives lip service to the Constitution, but basically has said, fuck it, and this is our consequences. You and I respect it because we knew what it means, but to them, it's a piece of paper to get around to get what they want.
Well, there have been other
And yes.
small groups who have stood up against the Constitution. And just like the maggots and the Trumplican part of the Republican Party, they are the minority. So we still have the power as the majority to say, excuse me, but we're going to enforce it. And we did not. And that's where the failure came. That's like having a lame set of parents that tell you, if you do
Yeah.
this, we're going to take away your privilege to watch TV, and you do it, and they don't do anything with it. Now your words are worthless.
Well,
Yeah,
the thing
the
about
point
it
was
is
that we have.
Wait, even though you had the power
Yes, ma'am.
to follow through with your threat, you did not. So all of your authority is completely lost at that point.
Yes. Yeah, because we treated it, because the Department of Justice under Merrick Garland treated everything that Trump did as a political matter, not a criminal matter. What's the enforcement? The Constitution, once you violate the Constitution, that's a criminal act, and you should be treated as a criminal act. The problem what we have and what we are paying the price for is everyone thought his antics were political, not criminal. And they didn't treat it like
ridiculous.
that. And that's our problem right now.
Yeah, but the part of it that means it's still a crime, whether or not it has a political motive or not. The problem here is that, and I heard this last night on a live, and I had not heard this said before, so I cannot speak to its legitimacy. But someone was very clear. He's an attorney, and he said the reason why Merrick Garland did things the way he did is because he was in hopes of becoming nominated for SCOTUS, for the Supreme Court, and he didn't want to offend Republicans in a way that they wouldn't then endorse his nomination when the time might have come for him to move on with his career. A theory I'd not heard before, and I can't give it any legs. I'm only repeating what this attorney said and what he believed, and he's fairly practicing over 30 years and fairly well versed in politics. So
logical.
It seems
I don't doubt that at all.
That's conjecture, but
Right.
it makes some sense,
Right.
especially when Donald Trump is involved.
Right.
You know, I think one of the problems with our legal system is there's too many loopholes, and since Donald Trump has been able to exploit all those loopholes, every fucking delay, every fucking appeal,
Yes.
a motion for this, a motion for that. Most people don't do that, and that's why there is some accountability ultimately. But Donald Trump or his legal team has become a master at doing a legal shuffle where nothing ever gets done. It's not unlike what we see in Congress. They got they got the filibuster, and they got all these little things that you have to do, and it's all about not getting anything done and just wasting time and pass it off to the next fucking one.
Well, right. It's
we
like
have a real
running out
problem
the
with
clock.
our system.
It's like
Right,
running out the
right.
clock in a sports game, right? You run out the clock or you exhaust your opponent to the point where they just stop fighting you. And then that's
Yeah.
what Donald Trump has done his entire life. He has exhausted people financially, emotionally. He's caused people to unalive themselves in business because he's ruined their businesses. He's put contractors out of business. People lost their homes. He's done this. He has perfected this. He is a person that takes pleasure in seeing other people suffer just to say he gets the win. And the difference about his political presidency over everyone else we've ever had is he was famous before. No
Right,
one
right.
else was ever famous. They may have been known in political circles. They may have been known for their political careers. They may have been known for their contributions in the justice system because they came from all areas, right? Justice system. We have people in politics from the military, and then we have people who we barely heard of before, but had been in the political scheme of things. He's the only one who was independently famous before he entered office and came with an aura of power that he in fact really never had.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, Joanne. You're more than welcome to come back anytime on the live. We're going to talk to a bunch of people. And in terms of
Lovely.
wearing people down, I'm experiencing that with the cutest little 4.5-year-old girl. She's mastered that tactic.
You must be meaning your granddaughter.
Granddaughter, absolutely. She's adorable, but she can be taxing sometimes. Anyway, Joanne, thanks very much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, she brings up a good point. You know, we have a system that we thought was pretty strong and pretty powerful, but turns out we don't.
Well, the whole thing, like kind of like she was saying, is they said, "Well, you got to do this, this, or this, and or else." Well, they expected the political parties to police themselves. They never expected that a felon would run. They didn't put it in the Constitution that you couldn't be a felon and be president because they never expected a felon to be in position to be president. That the people around him would say, "No, you can't do that." And that society and that the political system would say, "No." And for some reason, the Republican Party, because Donald Trump kicked out all of the decent Republicans out of all the leadership positions, there was no one there in the Republican Party to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Republicans stopped Nixon. Nixon wasn't thrown out because of the Democrats. Nixon was pushed out by his own party, who sat him down and said, "Dude, we're going to vote for you to be impeached. We suggest you resign." I believe it was Barry Goldwater that went to him and said, "You got to go." I mean, that's the difference between that Republican Party and this Republican Party.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, she's 100% right about Donald Trump putting people out of business. I mean, in New York and New Jersey, he put dozens of contractors out of business. He put union workers out on the street with companies closing because he refused to pay the companies. That's all true. Everything about what she said there is absolutely 100% true. Good union workers got put out on the street because Donald Trump refused to pay them.
Then, TJ, explain something to me, because the one thing that always bugged me about Trump, he does all this. He has a record of this. Why do people still fucking do business with him? Why do banks lend him money? They knew what he was going to do. Why? You have a reputation like that as a businessman. No one wants to work with you.
Well,
How did he keep getting this?
Well, I think a lot of people back in the day did that, not knowing any better. But I think in today's world, the banks and the contractors are wise to Donald Trump's business model, so they're not going to take on jobs with Donald Trump. At least in my world, the building trades construction world, they're not going to take the risk of doing business with Donald Trump anymore because they know that he's a losing bet.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
And
going to bring in.
so the American people
Zanita.
bought into his business model?
I'm sorry.
That's just, so the American people bought into his business model, which
Yeah,
is
well,
wrong.
yeah.
Dear
But
God.
you're right about that. And here, hey, Will, here's the sad part about the whole thing. Probably better than 50% of union construction members voted for Donald Trump because they're so hard set on a couple social issues that they'll vote against their own self-interest, and that is sad. I tell my members and people around me, vote for your pocketbook first and lobby for your hobbies. And it's just it's absolutely sad that people will vote against. They'll vote for Donald Trump, who's going to stack the National Labor Relations Board against us. He's going to decimate the Department of Labor, and it's going to create a bunch of obstacles for unions, disabling unions. We're going to get ruled against every single time with the new National Labor Relations Board appointments. The last ones were a disaster, and it's going to compound this time. It's going to even be worse. And so unions are going to suffer big time in the next 4 years. And I'm just beside myself about it. It hurts me inside to believe what's coming our way.
Yeah, I mean, as a
Absolutely.
retired Teamster, it's just insane. Just total insanity knowing what he's about to do. And also, there's already been layoffs because of the tariffs going. Trump's already turned on unions, and they're sitting there going, well, we didn't expect that. Dude, your scorpion was on your back. You were in the middle of the water. What do you think was going to happen?
Yep. And the
We have somebody. Go ahead.
the steel workers in Pittsburgh are feeling the burn right now because Donald Trump doesn't want the Nippon deal to pass with U.S. Steel, the sale to Nippon. And Nippon dedicated billions of dollars to upgrade that plant, which is desperately in need of upgrades. It's terrible. You know,
We have somebody on board here, real life.
Hi, I'm so excited you let me up.
No problem.
I feel like, in the Revolutionary War, we really should have kicked their butts to the curb. I mean, we really should have stomped on the pro-racist side, right? And then when Reagan came in, I was 12 years old when Reagan came in, and it seems like that was the beginning of everything. Even as a 12-year-old, I understood that.
People want to suggest that racism got better after a time, and I don't think that's the case. I think they just hid under rocks, and it wasn't polite for them to speak up. It was Donald Trump that made it cool again to be racist, unfortunately.
God, it's so offensive, and it's horrible. But as I learned more about what happened, with Lincoln and the letters that he wrote about how he wasn't pro or anti-slavery, that he just wanted to keep the Union together.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is the world I grew up in. I grew up in the 70s and 80s with sort of Disney and sort of television being a little bit more left. And here we are in a world where there's this outright racism. It's so clear.
You know what the funny thing is early on when TV was on, you had to be real careful of what you put on. And then as time went by, more and more got exposed on television. You were able to say damn and hell. You were able to put couples sleeping in the same bed. It seemed to go more progressive. And then all of a sudden we hit 2015 or a little before with being appropriate, and then beyond that to the Republican evangelical things. It does seem like we've gone backwards in terms of what we expect. Now, I'm not saying that you watch Jackass and some of the crazy shit that we used to watch shouldn't have been kind of filtered a little bit, but it's like we went from the Puritan days to anything goes, now back to the Puritan days. It's a strange cycle.
Yeah, it's really it's hard hitting watching what Musk is doing, along with Trump and Ramaswamy. It's heartbreaking.
It is, absolutely. It's kind of devastating. It's something we never thought we would see, but unfortunately we've got it in front of us and we got to deal with it. Just a matter of how we deal with it. We can't look too far in advance and expect disaster and Armageddon. We just have to deal as it comes because that's the only way to handle it.
Right. And on one hand, I want to be very, I want to hide. I've been hiding from the news. I've been getting all of my news from you and other TikTok people who show receipts, you know. And on the other hand, I can't watch the news anymore.
I don't either. I will turn it on for a little bit in the morning just to see if something crazy happened. And of course, this morning I turn it on and the issue with New Orleans. So I try to get the basic things and then just follow legitimate news sources. I can't sit and watch mainstream media at all anymore because they're culpable for what happened here.
Yeah, I mean, there's New Orleans and then there's Vegas.
Vegas, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I love your work.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I thank you for joining us too. And anytime we're doing a live, I'm going to try to do more of them since I've got TJ and Rebecca knocking the shit out of Trumplifux and we can stay on here longer. So anytime we're doing a live, don't hesitate. I like bringing people on who I know who they are because otherwise it's just a fucking crapshoot.
Well,
and we get some weirdos from time to time.
Okay, I can try to drop myself.
I can do it. I can do it. I can disconnect you.
Have a lovely night. Good night.
You too.
You know, there are a lot of people I've seen in the comments talking about what the other columnist said about Trump was the first famous person, and people were bringing up Reagan. Reagan was governor of California after he was an actor. He was a B actor.
He was famous.
Right. But he was governor of California. He wasn't famous for his acting. He was a politician already. Donald Trump never served any office at all, period.
Well, he was the president of the Screen Actors Guild. He was the president of the Screen Actors Guild, and apparently that gave him some cachet to run for politics.
I mean, the only reason he became president of the Screen Actors Guild because he was a so-called anti-communist and created the blacklist for a lot of writers. That's the only reason.
Yeah,
TJ
Reagan was president of the Screen Actors Guild, which was union, and then he busted all the unions. Well, he busted the air traffic controllers.
Yeah.
That was the ultimate demise of unions in this country. Ronald Reagan destroying the air traffic controllers. That was the end. I mean, that was the decline for us. That's why we dwindled down to such small numbers because of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
And remember, the fall of manufacturing started with Reagan. The movement of manufacturing out of the country started with Reagan. Reagan was the trickle-down theory came from Reagan. The Milton Friedman theories came from Reagan. He bought into it. And people keep thinking this is a good fucking idea. It isn't. Biden has been using Keynesian economics for the last 4 years, and we saw where that helped us. All the other Republicans have used this Milton Friedman trickle-down economics, and Trump is going to take it to the next level. And what has it got us? Nothing. And people don't see that. I don't know why they don't see this. You had money. You got jobs. What the fuck is wrong with you people? And I say this every fucking day when I wake up since November 5th. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
The reason they don't see it is because Democrats suck at messaging. We've talked about it a lot. Republicans, since Reagan and probably before Reagan, were really good at spinning the narrative. And you could watch the numbers in the economy go into shit, and they'll tell you it's doing great. They'll give you a little tax cut so you have some more money in your pocket while they're tanking the economy and make you believe that everything's going better.
So the problem too, Eric, I agree with you, but the messaging is because people don't think for them fucking selves anymore. They can't see it. You can't see your position within your own life. You blame everyone else for your own fucking problems. I just saw a video with Stephanie Rule was talking to Eric Gardner, because Gardner's saying the reason they lost the election is racism. She's going, no, because people can't buy this. Their kids are still in their home. They can't get them out. And I'm thinking, hey, Stephanie, that's their problem. That was a problem created by Republicans and Reagan and, no offense, Mike, boomers who took it all and not let people move forward. And why are you blaming Biden to fix your problem because your kids can't get out of the house? My kids live in my house. I have no problem with it. You know, there are people who've lived in houses in New York with their parents for years before this. This is a fucking idiocy that we have to deal with. And the problem is it's going to affect me because some dumb idiot wanted eggs to be cheaper during Christmas time. You dumb fucks. It doesn't work like that.
You know, Will, I'm having trouble hearing you. I've got all these stacks of bullion, gold bullion around me, and it's kind of echoing. So you're going to have to speak
Yeah,
up
you
a little
goddamn
bit.
boomers. I know.
Yeah, fucking boomers. Fucking boomers.
But you know what I'm saying, Mike, because
I know.
that's been,
I know.
yeah, I mean, it's not on you, but you have to look at it from that sense that the boomer generation has had a good foot in what happened in the economics. They moved on from hippies to yuppies to all this, and basically it just they never put America and people as part of everything. It was all about themselves. They talk about the 70s being the me generation. That wasn't right. That wasn't correct.
Yeah, it's all about selfishness and all about me and what do I get now and why am I not getting what they're getting, and it's just all a bunch of absolute bullshit. We're coming to the end here, fellas. I think we lost Rebecca, so TJ, give Rebecca our best and be safe while you're there in New Orleans. I know you're leaving sometime soon.
Well, I hope
thank you
nothing
for
else
coming.
happens while we're here because Jesus Christ.
I certainly hope so too. I hope nothing happens. I hope nothing happens anywhere in the country for that matter with a day like we just had with Vegas and New Orleans. Will, thank you for coming in. And
Thank you, sir.
Eric,
Appreciate
thank
you.
Hey, you're welcome. I appreciate being on.
All right, and all of those that participated and that listened and watched, I appreciate you taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Good night.